Hello, beautiful soul. Shauna here. And I am so thrilled to be back in my excitements. Two of my biggest excitements, the things that I have a lot of passion around, are recording videos and recording audios. I haven't done any of this outside of the video that Tatiana and I did for our yin yoga and sound healing event. I haven't done any of this. I stepped away from everything for the past few months. And there's some reasons behind that. And I don't even need to get into those reasons today because it doesn't matter. What matters is listening to the inspiration within me, listening to the voice of what I am passionate about, along with listening to and feeling into the resistance. Why haven't I been doing this? What are the stories that I'm telling myself in my mind that is preventing me from setting up my lighting, from getting my microphone and putting it in front of me? What is that resistance? And that's not what I want to talk about today, but I'm just sharing with you part of the process that I have gone through to get back to right here, where it is I am right now, recording this video, recording this audio. It's important to honor everything. In my opinion, to not fight the resistance, but instead to allow the resistance to be there and to be curious about it and explore it. But it's equally as important to take a step, to do something. And that something that I'm doing right now, I haven't touched. I met with a friend of mine a few weeks ago. And in that conversation, I recognized the spark. And that was a few weeks ago. And here I am, 3 weeks later, finally sitting down in front of my camera. And it's because this morning, when I was having my coffee, I was by myself. My husband had gone to work and the house was still dark and I was sipping my coffee. I began to think about and feel into what's been going on in my life, in my world, in my journey. And as I started to think about it, I started talking out loud. I was processing out loud. I was in my exploration and I was verbalizing it. And when I felt complete and done with what I was saying, I said to myself, why wasn't I recording that? That was fantastic. That would have been a fabulous podcast or video. So I told myself that later on, and it's now later on, that I would set these things up and I would just start talking. I have nothing planned outside of reflecting on what it was I was talking to myself about this morning. And that is the divine feminine and how the divine feminine has been showing up for me. Not even just the divine feminine, it's more than that. It is my divine inner child. It is the divine mother of the great universe, or the great mother, the rise of feminine, the elevation of the feminine, the lift of the feminine, and what that means to me, what that looks like, what that sounds like, how I experience that. Back in March of this year, there was an incident. No one was hurt, at least not physically. And I think I may have talked about this in a previous video or a previous podcast. It doesn't matter. that situation rocked my world. There was a big shift. I was the catalyst of it. I was the cause of it. And the details of that story don't matter. But what matters is what came from it. And this all loops back around to the sacred feminine or the divine feminine energy rising, and what that means and how that's showing up in my life. About a week or so after the incident, when I was able to be out of my ego enough to look at myself and the role I played, that is when I discovered that I've been very much in the energy of self-centeredness, manipulation, aggression, control, as a way of getting my needs and my wants met. That awareness was challenging to admit to myself, and now I'm admitting it to you now. And this isn't the first time. I know I've recorded about this before. I realized more deeply, because I had already been playing around with the idea of what it means to let go of control. But at that moment where I sat in the awareness and I sat in the energy of this awareness, and I did my best to love myself unconditionally, even though I made all these discoveries, I made a promise to deepen the practice of letting go of control, in asking to be seen or to be shown, to recognize the moments where I'm starting to manipulate, I'm starting to force, I'm starting to be in control, I am being insensitive to the needs of others, to the feelings of others, so that I can begin to shift that. All of that, the force, the control, the manipulation, the self-centeredness, the, what's the word I want to use? Disrespect to other people. That is masculine energy. That is what I and most of us have been raised to believe and to do, is to force, to control, to manipulate. And I'm not saying that's the way for everyone. I'm simply sharing some of my experience with you. This is how I get what I want. The idea of being fluid and yielding, receptive and trusting that my needs will get met in the highest vibrational way for me was so foreign. Like that to me, that was like, are you insane? If someone said that to me, I'd be like, you are nuts. That's not how I get my needs met. So over the past several months, I've been doing more work. I don't really like using that word, more work with the divine feminine. I've been in discovery, in exploration of the divine feminine, rising feminine, and what that means. And interestingly enough, because everything is so divinely orchestrated, I haven't had to really look anywhere because things are coming to me. I cast the intention to understand what it means to not be in control, to not be manipulative, to allow that feminine to rise up within me. I cast the intention, I opened myself up, and I said, show me the way. So over the past months, I have become increasingly aware of the material, number one, that's coming to me in the way of teachers, in the way of books, in the way of videos that have just landed in my lap, that they all are enhancing my practice, really elevating my practice, but also recognizing the situations and the moments that I begin to go into control, that I begin to force a situation, that I begin to try to manipulate someone or something as a means of getting what I want, because deep down, I'm afraid that my want or my need is not going to be met. There's that lack of trust. The feminine is the trust. It's the deep inner knowing that my needs will always be met, maybe not in a way that my ego wants, but my needs are always met. Then came in the idea of receiving, because that's what the divine feminine does. The feminine is the receptive part of us, the part of us that opens up to receiving. The divine feminine, yin, the great mother, even the divine inner child, less popular and underused. We are living, and this is changing, but we have grown up in, and we are living in a overly masculine, boldly masculine, over-dominating culture and world where the patriarchal system has been in play for thousands of years. And I'm not saying anything against men. I love men. But I am talking about a system, a structure that's in place that has made us believe, we've been taught to believe that we have to do certain things, we have to act certain ways. And the feminine, the great mother, the inner child, has been erased, suppressed, repressed for far too long. The essence of the divine feminine, it's one thing to wear more feminine earrings, to dress in a more feminine way, to change your hairstyle, to look more feminine. Great. If that's something you want to do, go ahead and keep doing it. The essence of the feminine, and this is what I'm learning in my own journey, my own experience, is that idea of opening up to receiving and learning how to use my right brain, the creative and intuitive brain, because I've been taught to use the logical mind, my left side brain. So this is what's been coming up for me in my journey. And discovering or allowing that feminine to rise within me as I learn how to let go of control. So I've been putting it out there. Okay, I'm recognizing that I am in trying to be in control. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like for me not to be in control? That is allowing feminine energy to rise within me. And the gateway, the key, is heart. Being heart-centered. The feminine is found in the body. It's found in the heart. The masculine is in the logical, rational mind. And there's nothing wrong with balanced masculinity. The task of the feminine is to be the vessel that carries our truth and our essence. The task of the masculine is to take that truth out into the world in a clear and straightforward way. That's the balance. But when the feminine is ignored, when it's not used, when it's disregarded, when it's ignored, when it's ridiculed, what's left? The masculine. But many of the men in this world, I don't have a statistic for you, are part of this patriarchal system as well. They don't realize that there's another way, and that other way is bringing a balance of the feminine, letting that feminine essence rise in order to have balance with feminine and masculine. My journey is through letting go of control, letting go of manipulation. That's where my focus is on my journey to allowing the feminine to rise. And it's been a journey for sure. Even in speaking my truth, when I first started the practice of knowing what my truth was and then speaking it, ooh, it was a bumpy road. It was a messy road. And I know that I said some pretty rough things to some people, but that's smoothed out. There's still got some bumps in the road, but it's nothing like it was. So that truth that emerges from within me through my practices of stillness and introspection and willingness to know my truth, and then using masculine energy to take that truth out into the world in a clear and straightforward way. But the balance comes when I do it from a heart-centered place of compassion and respect for myself and the person that I'm communicating with. There is also, which I've been learning about for the past few months, thank you, angels, for bringing this information into my awareness, are fears, old male and old female archetypes. The old male archetype, fears old male archetype, are the negative thoughts that we have. And fears old female archetype are the lower vibrational emotions that we experience. So there's also that recognition of, well, what am I thinking right now? I am thinking something negative. So now I know this is fear's old male trying to keep its grips on me. This is the patriarchal, hierarchical system that is causing me or inviting me to grab onto these negative thoughts that are not serving me. And then there are these lower vibrational emotion from fear's old female that is keeping me trapped in victimhood or in guilt or in shame, and recognizing, oh, that's a feeling that's from the old female archetype. And then when recognizing those, being able to clear them through heart so that I have a better understanding of who it is I really want to be, and finding that balance of feminine and masculine. So when I'm in a rage and I'm feeling like I want to control the situation, I'm triggered, I want to control, I want to manipulate, I want to get my need met, awareness is key. For anyone on a spiritual quest, awareness is your number one practice every day, all day long, self-awareness. I can become aware of the thoughts that I'm thinking, the negative thoughts I'm thinking, the stories I'm telling myself, the lower vibration emotions that I am feeling. And in that recognition, stopping and saying, hold on now. These are fears archetypes that are showing up. Let me come into my heart and trust. Feminine. Trust that everything is going to work out in the highest vibrational way for the greatest good and highest joy of all concerned. And then open to receive the guidance I need for the next step or whatever it is. And love and kindness and niceness. To me, that is the feminine rising within me. When I consciously recognize where that, how do I want to describe this masculine, overbearing masculine and overbearing feminine are showing up, so that I can tap into what the divine feminine really is within me. and allow her to rise, to listen to that truth, to let go of control and come into a place of trust. And for any of you listening who have the tendency, the habit to control your situation, to control people, to control your environment, it's not easy. I'm like cringing as I'm saying this because I typically don't say stuff like this, but it's not that easy to just let it go and allow the feminine to step in, allow the feminine to direct my life. Every morning when I wake up now, I invite the feminine to direct my life in whatever that looks like or sounds like or whatever way I'm going to experience it, because I'm tired of having the overbearing masculine energy and the victimhood, guilt-ridden, shame-ridden energy of the old female running my life. These are archetypes of fear, and they prevent the balance of masculine and feminine within us. So my journey to my feminine, to my rising feminine, has been in my willingness and in my practice to let go of control. And it's been, do I want to say challenging? That's not really a word I want to use right now. It's been a journey. It has been, because there have been times where I will, if I'm with my husband and something's happening, I will say to him, all right, I'm recognizing that I'm trying to control this situation, so I'm going to step out of this. It's in the recognition when I can let go of control and allow my heart to open, to come into trust and love, then I can more easily open to receiving what I need to solve the problem, fix the problem, understand my next step. One thing I am working on now, again, there's that word working on, actually that's two words, is the idea of using my right brain, the creative, intuitive side of my brain. And I've been asking the universe, I've been asking my angels, I've been asking my guides, show me what that means. Show me what that looks like, because I am ready to do that. And maybe I am already. I'm not aware of it. So that's been my next step. It's help me to understand what that looks like, what that means, how that shows up in my life, what it sounds like, what it speaks like when I'm using those twin sisters of intuition and creativity. That's when I know I've invited even more feminine in. I know I've said this before, but all you have to do is look at what's going on around the world to understand that feminine energy needs to lift. It needs to rise. It needs to elevate, one individual at a time. Someone like me who is doing the work privately, quietly. Well, not so much privately now because I'm doing this recording. Because I know that as I change within myself, I'm bringing healing to the collective, to the one human body. And I am giving other people the opportunity to do the same. It all begins with your willingness to understand, what does that actually mean for me to allow my feminine to rise? I've always, my whole journey has been looking at what I am not, or what I prefer not to be, lots of shadow work, so that I can bring in more of who I prefer to be. Not to disregard this, to hate this, to reject these parts of myself or these parts of my consciousness, but to integrate them with the whole, as the whole, recognizing when these parts of myself who I don't prefer to be show up, and then consciously making the decision to shift to who it is I prefer to be. So it's the same thing with the masculine and the feminine. I'm recognizing where my overly masculine energy has been for most of my life, how I've been, not just me, all of us, how we've been conditioned in this patriarchal system. And again, it's not about, let me say this, because this is one thing I was talking to myself about this morning. It's not about dominion over. I'm not looking to have my feminine rise so I can have dominance over or dominion over men, that women will take over the world. Not a bad idea though, right? It's not about dominion over. It's about equal footing. It's about working together. It's about finding common ground, not warring, not separation, not division. The feminine, the essence of the feminine is about coming together, working in harmony. That means stepping out of the ego or inviting the ego and the masculine, logical, rational mind to come into balance. Things are off balance. So I want to be really clear about that. It's not domination. It's unity. It's oneness. And that is where we are headed. Consciousness is rising on the planet, and I am super excited to be part of it. Feminine energy is rising on the planet because it has to. And I am one individual woman who is doing this work because I choose to, because I'm recognizing how my life is improving. I'm recognizing how different I feel and I think about myself, and opportunities are opening. It's a beautiful place. If you're willing to look honestly at yourself, and if you are willing to change, if you're willing to know, if you are willing to believe in and trust your intuition, if you are willing to open your heart and open your emotional center, if you are willing to reclaim parts of yourself, a big part of yourself that has been erased and forgotten in our culture. But things are changing, and I am so grateful and proud to be part of this movement of creating unity, bringing people together, oneness, and finding balance within myself first, and then helping someone like you to find balance between your feminine, your divine feminine, and your divine masculine. Okay. I think I feel complete. Wow, that felt good to do. It's wonderful to be back. I've missed this so much. We all have gifts to share. Your time is now to rise, to elevate, to lift, to expand, to be loving, to be kind, and to be nice. in peace, in light, and in love. I will see you all soon.